Congratulations! We've reached the end of another section, and yet time to start another review. As always, pause after each one of the questions so you can think through your answer before you hear me talk about why it's right and why it's wrong. Here we go. Number 1. A logon banner is a piece of evidence that can be used to successfully prosecute hackers in a court of law. True or false? The answer is actually true, which seems wild. Something as trivial sounding as a logon banner is actually the only display that you have of your company policy to the outside world or whomever has successfully accessed that device. So whatever you say in that statement is critically important to make sure that you disclaim your company's policy of unauthorized access. Question 2. You type the no login command under the VTY lines of your router. What is the result? The answer is somewhat counterintuitive. It's C. Anyone can telnet into the user mode of the router without a password. And it's counterintuitive because as human beings, we read this like a sentence, no login, as in it immediately connects in our brain, nobody can log into the device. But we have to think in terms of iOS speak. And in iOS speak, the no command actually negates anything that is after that command. So login requires logins, thus no login negates the need for a login to that port or whatever we're typing that no login command under. So all of these other derivatives are a little bit more logically thinking than it is thinking, okay, this is what the iOS does. Good? Question number 3. Which of the following interface configuration commands would configure your router to receive an IP address via DHCP? The answer here is D. And this is not so much a test of the syntax, although that is definitely valid, but it's a test of your knowledge of the modes. Remember, all of these assume we have to identify the interface, but when we're configuring a router, we go from user mode to privilege mode to global config mode, and then we can go into whatever mode we want to, including interface configuration mode. So in this case, we would type in, if fast Ethernet 0/0 was the interface we were configuring, we'd actually type that in, interface fast Ethernet 0/0. It'd move us into that mode, and at that point, there's no longer a need to specify what interface we want to assign it to. We just tell it IP address DHCP. Question number 4. Cisco Type 7 encryption is generally considered to be a secure standard for password storage. True or false? The answer, absolutely false. Cisco Type 7 is a very weak encryption, which essentially eliminates a little bit of the line of sight because it takes a password like Cisco or whatever password you've got and turns it into a series of numbers and letters. But if somebody's actually able to capture that series of letters and numbers, it's extraordinarily easy to break. As a matter of fact, there are engines on web pages that can break that level of encryption. So don't trust Cisco Type 7. Question number 5. Which command combination allows you to suspend an active telnet or SSH session on a Cisco device? The answer is A. It's a weird one. On your keyboard, you hold down Control-Shift-6, let go of it, then hit X, and it suspends whatever your active telnet session is, let's just pretend that box was, and lands you back on whatever device you telnetted from. It gets increasingly difficult to manage multiple sessions, like if this is your, let's just say this is your core device, and you telnet to 5 different devices, whichever one is the last telnet session. So if you're right here and you do Control-Shift-6X, it'll bounce you back here. But you can actually get crazy. You can get in here and do Control-Shift-6, and you can actually pick which one of these sessions you want to go to, but it's insane. You're never going to remember that sort of thing. So good intention, but I think the best use of it is just to be able to go back and forth quickly between 2 different devices. And that's it. There's so much more than just what those review questions could cover that we went through, especially in that assembly nugget where we put all those together and created the base configuration for all the devices in our CCNA pod. So if you're not 100% familiar with those commands and can do them from rote memorization, meaning your eyes are closed, you can actually just type those commands and configure a device from scratch, go back and do it again until you're able to do that. For now, I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.